Hi, how are you today? Today is day 2 of Christmas Advent, and if you're following along the devotional that I'm reading, The Gifts of Christmas, I just wanted to do it out here because it's feeling a lot like Christmas outside. It's beautiful out. The sky is blue with white clouds, and the trees are barren. But the sun was out earlier, and it is really cold, but it's crisp, and I like it. So I wouldn't want to be out here long, and I'm glad I have a hood and a scarf and a warm coat. Thankful for those things. Anyway, yesterday, the first day of Advent in this devotional, asked about if you had a gift when you were a child that you really wanted. And I guess it brought something to mind for me. When I was a little girl, I had a baby doll that I loved, and I played with her like I was her mommy and she was my baby. And I fed her and changed her and put her down for naps. And I know one Christmas, I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty young. I would have definitely been under second grade. I don't really know. It was my first house I lived in. But anyway, I asked for a doll bed for Christmas, and I don't know if you remember beds that had canopies on top. So this doll bed was probably pretty small. It was turquoise, and it had a little thin mattress on it, and my older siblings probably would remember it. I'll be anxious to hear if they do. And it had a canopy top to it. Anyway, I asked for this for Christmas, and I didn't know if I was going to get it, but I wanted it really bad. And this particular year, I did something I didn't usually do, and I don't think I ever did again. And I went snooping around looking for it. I wanted to see if my parents got it. I guess I just couldn't wait to find out. So parents, beware. You might think your kids aren't doing it, but they might be. And as a matter of fact, I found it in my parents' closet on the top shelf. I don't think they even tried to cover it, so I don't think they were thinking that I would look for it. But anyway, I did see it, and I was the thrill of getting the gift kind of left me, as you know, it does a little something. I was disappointed that I had done it, but I didn't know I would be disappointed. Anyway, I was very happy to get it, but I purposely never looked for a gift again. I didn't want to know. I wanted to be surprised, a good kind of surprised. And so it was a little life lesson for me. But that was a story that came to my mind. But in today's devotional, they're talking about people waiting for the Messiah to come, Jesus. In the Bible, it talks about, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, about them waiting for the Messiah to come. And so I'm just going to read today's devotional. It's page 2, Past Hope. And Romans 15:12 says, and again, Isaiah says, reference to the Old Testament, the root of Jesse will spring up, one who will arise to rule over the nations. In him the Gentiles will hope. Now the Gentiles were the people that weren't the Jews, and Jesus is coming for dying for the sins of all the world was for the Jews and the Gentiles. And that is a good thing, because I am not a Jew, so I am glad that Jesus died for me too. Okay, so let me read this. We live in a society of instant gratification. We get impatient waiting for microwaves, airplanes, and high-speed internet connections. So just think of waiting thousands of years for something. The people of Israel lived an entire history of waiting. In the darkest days of hardship and exile, the Israelites held fast to the bright hope of the promise of a Messiah. Isaiah prophesied, "A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of the knowledge and fear of the Lord." Isaiah 11, 1-2. The prophecies gave people hope, and the words of the psalmist David encouraged them and us to hold on to hope. "Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord." Psalm 31:24. Can you imagine the expectation that built over such a long time? Hope must have naturally faded for many, and others must have lost hope altogether that the prophecies of a Messiah would come to pass. In the hard moments of life, it was almost too much to hope for. But Jesus did come, and his coming fulfilled the prophecies of the past, not just for the Jews, but for the whole world. In the book of Romans, Paul quoted a prophecy from Isaiah. "The root of Jesse will spring up, one who will arise to rule over the nations. In him the Gentiles will hope." Romans 15:12. Jesus was a savior for the whole world, for all who recognized him as Messiah and worshiped him as the Son of God, sent to redeem the world. How does seeing the long-time hope of Israel fulfilled in Jesus the Messiah impact your concept of hope? How can you use this Advent season of waiting to help you worship more fully? So, in the way I'm thinking of this Advent time, this Advent season, I'm really glad I'm doing this, because I'm taking pause. I'm thinking about the long-awaited Messiah, and it is so relevant for today. I can't imagine what they were feeling. We have the hope already here in Jesus, but they didn't. They were waiting for him to come, and that's when he came as a baby to the Virgin Mary. I guess we'll get into that later in this devotional. But, God is so good, because he does not make us wait. The Messiah is here, and the Messiah means God with us. And that is something I think Christmas stirs up in my mind, is God is with us. He's with us when our hope is low, when our hope is high. But right now, this week, the Advent is focusing on hope. And so I just want to encourage you to consider, if you don't already, hoping in Jesus, hoping in the Messiah, and remembering that he is with us